conversation. The outline is for you to, and for me to have something to go back and track that if we just completely miss our train of thought.
Yeah.
But it's only that, because we know each other. I think this can be very natural, very organic. Well,
I feel like I'm going to start crying, Calms, because it's so beautiful to see you, and I've been overthinking this too much. You know what I mean?
Don't worry, but you can cry. You can do anything you want. I would like people to see how special you really are. Not only because you're coming to Madrid, but just because you're a truly special person. And I was thinking, as I was preparing for like this morning, like making my coffee and all of this, I was thinking that what really makes you special, or what really makes this connection special between you and I, is that I feel that that I have to be myself with you. There's no way that you're going to take any bullshit from me or from anyone, but from me especially. I know that I have to be just who I am, and that's very frightening. It's natural. We all are used to wearing masks, not to just having a persona and presenting to people in some way. But with you, you just like, you have this like very, how can I put this? This very intriguing mix of being like a petite lady with a really strong presence, and all the facade falls out. There's no way that anyone can give you any nonsense, I think. And that's what makes you really special. That's what makes working with you very special, very transformative, or transformational. I don't know the word. Transformational or transformative? How is that?
Both
Yeah.
work. Both work. You know what, Calms, I just actually felt you drop in. Like I just noticed you fully drop in with me there as you spoke about that.
Yeah.
Can you feel the difference between us now?
I can feel that we are connected now.
Yeah.
And I think we are in a good place to start.
Yeah. You can feel that the I thou, that relational connection that happens when one drops into self deeply. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, you have that. I was thinking, as I was coming, there's no way that I can be talking to you and thinking about something else. For example, I have to be fully present, because otherwise you're going to spot me. You're going to spot, and you're going to tell me. So it's like full on. And yeah, that's cool. It's like someone holding you accountable. It's not really that either. It's something different. I would say let's get started. I'll formally introduce you so we know when we start, and just relax. This is supposed to be something natural that happens. Whatever comes up, it comes up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look fantastic, Sans.
Thanks. You know, you should really put that first bit in.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because that's real.
Okay, let's do it.
That's real relationship. That's where two people drop into that space. And you know what we were talking about before, it's the capacity for the feminine, and it's not just the feminine, it's not just female, it's the capacity of the inner mind, whether you're a female or a male, to hold this deep feminine principle. It's like a chalice of support for another, to completely drop defenses and be available. And that's something that everyone, doesn't matter who you are, you want to be able to cultivate. It's what we call the alpha mother or the inner mother, where one has this capacity to hold oneself and to hold another in a deep container of support. So the contained and the container come together and they merge for a moment, and there's a deep interconnectedness and lattice work of dialogue, and then there's a healthy disconnection. And we learn that with our mother. Now, if our mother didn't do that for us, we never experience it. So there's many reasons why our mothers didn't do that, because they didn't have it, and many reasons, not something I'll get into. But when you learn that and you do that for yourself, and I learned that through suffering and through Gestalt and through Ashtanga, when you learn that for yourself, then you can hold that deep chalice for someone else. And that's what you feel. It's like, fuck, I have to turn up here. She's here. And that's alarming and comforting.
Well, thank you for being here, Sans.
Yeah, I already started.
Let's just say your name before we start, yeah? Thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure. It's a real delight to see you. I think you look fantastic, full of light. I love your smile. I love, actually, your pinky finger. Look, you're my inspiration for this. Yay. Pinky sisters. Yeah. This is a toe ring that I got in Mysore. I need a real one, but until I go back, I'll keep this one. Yeah.
That's interesting, because I got this made in Mysore.
I know. And I got this one made in Mysore, which is my stone. Yeah. It's my stone. And this actually reminds me of, one of these times that we've spoken. It reminds me of something that you told me about my solar plexus, like your center of power, how important that was and how important it was for me at that specific time in my life. And it's the yellow, it's a solar plexus. So now I am all about yellow. I think I'm serious, but anyway, there's something I wanted to say. Yeah, I remember now.
I just wanted to say, Calms, I love you.
Okay. I love you too. I love you too. I do. I love your hand. Love your expression. There's something about
Thanks.
Yeah. You look fantastic, then.
Thank you.
I remember first time we met, this thing that we were talking about right before I introduced you, that briefly, it was, there's no way that you can pretend to be someone else in front of you. That's what I've always felt. From the very first time we met, which was in Mysore, I think it was in the swimming pool, in the 7-star swimming pool. And if I'm completely honest with you, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I'm going to tell you now. If I'm completely honest, I was, your presence felt so unsettling to me back then. I could see that you have this, you wanted to talk to me. You wanted to connect with me for some reason. And I was not wanting to do that. It was like, I don't know who you are. I feel a little uncomfortable, really. But you were extremely polite and correct. There was nothing about you being unfriendly or anything. It was more something that I felt. I was not ready for having an interaction with you. And I've probably never told you that. I'm telling you now. Yeah. Does anything come to mind when I'm saying this?
Well, yes, because you're not the only one. there's a lot of people that are scared of me. Because there's a point where, like you say, their defenses are dropped, and it's almost like once you've done that inner work, and once you've been to certain places in your psyche through suffering and through having to climb so many mountains to get yourself out of where you've been, that it's almost like you can see through the many complexes and masks and charades that people try and put over you. And so when you have this kind of more wider perspective on things, people are alarmed and they're like, I'm not ready for that kind of discovery. It's like when I'm at home, my husband's friends arrive to the front door and the first thing they say, is she home? Because it's like, if she's here, we're not coming in. Because everything has to be left at the front door. If you're coming into this house, leave all of that at the front door and come in naked.
I agree. I remember when the first time that you visited Madrid, which was 2019, the old shala that I used to have, the old location. I remember you standing at the airport with like this very strong presence, but like so ready to work, like so ready and so like so strong, like standing so strongly at the airport, Barajas airport in Madrid. I remember that quite vividly. I remember your smile. Like there is something very special about you, Sans. Something really, truly special. I don't think anyone can put into words.
Thanks, Calms. You know what it is, honey? I imagine it's suffering. It's like when you suffered a lot and you've seen a lot and you had to go to the bottom of the ocean and scrounge around down there in the dark waters and then come to the top again. And also, like I've seen a lot of ugliness. And when you've seen that ugliness of humanity and you come to the other side of it, no one can hoodwink you, Carmen. And then when you're hoodwinking yourself, you can see there's aspects of the psyche that are betraying you, laziness and sloth and wrath and resentment, and you can work with your inner mind because you've seen a lot of it and you've climbed out and you're ready. This work needs to be done regardless of what's going on. You are ready. And so you're constantly working with your inner mind to be available for life. So you're constantly making contact with life, regardless of what's going on.
Here's what's really interesting. When we met, I was scared. Not really scared of you, but I felt this intimidation. I was definitely not ready to open my eyes, and I wasn't ready for life happening to me, honestly. And it did happen to me, and that's when I actively seeked you after that. That this idea of suffering and being ready, and even if you're broken, having the strength to not really the strength, of course, but not like in a fighting type of way, but more like a resilient kind of way, and also having the appreciation for this is going to sound cheesy, but it's true, having the appreciation for a sunset or a sunrise or the early morning hours, the calmness, even though your world might be collapsing and you might be completely disoriented, you still have that something inside of you awakens with suffering and with loss. But there's something that's been going on in my mind for some time. It's like this idea of suffering. What's we're gonna get into deep waters here, but what's the role of suffering? And many times suffering is not part of the yoga propaganda. It's not part of the yoga marketing. People come to yoga because they want to feel good. They basically want something that will help them cope. And that's not what they usually find. So what do you think? This is a big topic, I know.
This is a massive topic. You know, for me, suffering, I mean, there's so many layers to this, but if you look at if you really take a very profound inventory of your life, and you do that for yourself, which takes time and takes effort. And you have to get out of the current pendulum that's swinging you from here to there, without any real nourishment. You're just on this pendulum getting swung around, okay? In society. You can call it pendulum, you can call it paradigm, you can call it whatever you want. But unless you're willing to get off that and take a deep inventory of your life and look at the archetypal patterns that are playing themselves out, right? So there's an archetypal pattern of suffering playing itself out in your life. And you're bumping into people, you're bumping into experiences, you're bumping around there, like you're getting pushed around like a ping pong ball that is your life. And it's fleshing out experiences and aspects of your psyche all the time to grow into maturity and potentiality. So without that bumping and that suffering, that maturity and that potentiality never grows, because you're just always in ambition and you're always in hubris. You always think you're fucking special. You're even special in your suffering. It was like, you're not. We're all fucking suffering. I shouldn't swear. I said I wasn't going to swear, but sometimes I get excited. I'm sorry, Carmen.
You are, no problem. No problemo. You can swear.
So the suffering drops you down. It drops you down to ground zero. So you have to actually grow and creatively adjust and get out of your rigid patterns of being in the world and experiment with new ways of being. And underneath that, there's an archetypal pattern. You know, like I have an archetypal pattern of unworthiness. I have an archetypal pattern of voicelessness. I have an archetypal pattern of powerlessness. I have an archetypal pattern of anorexia, of addiction. And so these sufferings are you bumping into experiences to flesh that out to the fullness. So you know it, you've integrated that archetype. Once you know it, you've integrated it, you've surmounted it. It's part of you. There's a maturity in the psyche. Then you go out and you can help people. That's how you help people. That is service. It's like, man, this happened. Try this. I went there. That didn't work. Try that. And they come back and go, you know what, Sam, that worked. Yeah, it worked because I went there and I tried it and it worked. I hope that kind of was something that was useful to you, Carmen.
It's very useful, but I really don't know where to start because many things are coming to my mind. So I'm trying, I'm trying to kind of put things in order inside so that I can elaborate. One of the things that came to my mind as you were speaking is that this idea of readiness. You got to be ready to do all this work because, like, if we just think of yoga, the yoga that we do on the mat, which we usually think in terms of I'm doing yoga and all this asana, all this practice. We can do it at a superficial level, which is what will happen probably in the first few years. At some point, we need to develop our own understanding. We need to develop maturity, as you mentioned. We need to develop our own line of working with the practice, because at the end of the day, it's not doing asana after asana, or it's not doing this technique or this other technique, but rather doing this deep understanding. It's this deep connection that happens without necessarily an expectation. And I don't mean it. And here's one thing, very interesting thing. At some point in your life, in your practice, your yoga practice, but in your life, you got to go from understanding here, from theories to real experience. You will have to move from technique, if you like, or philosophical concepts or ideas that you can play with in your mind, to something that it's like real, that it's you, something that it's alive within you. Is that communion and that understanding, like deep understanding, what's going to make you come back to your yoga mat, and what's going to make your life something that you want to be involved in. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense, but
you are. And I suppose what happened for me then, Carmen, is, and just it's a fantasy, so if I got it wrong, please tell me. It's almost like you come from the mind into experience, and then once you experience yoga, it's revelatory. There are revelations, right? And so once you have a revelation and you have these revelatory moments on the mat, it becomes a conscious, reflective process. And so you're consciously weaving in a reflective process, which is continually revealing to you illuminations of truth. And so you get one ray of truth in, 10 years of asana practice, that you busted your guts and you sweated it out and you had blood, sweat, and tears for one little ray of truth, but it's yours. And that keeps bringing you back to the mat. Was that useful? Is that kind of what you're trying to bring in?
Yeah, it's precisely that, going from the mind to the experience. That's one of the reasons why I think I was not ready to interact with you, because there's no way that someone can interact with you in the sense that someone is being fully present with you or is not. You cannot have like a superficial interaction with you. There's no way. And something inside of me knew that, like right off the bat. And so I had to stay away until I was ready. I'm very interested about your story, your path, if you like, your journey, how you've evolved, and maybe people are interested about it as well. So even though we've started with really deep ideas and a deep conversation. Maybe you can tell us about the beginning, how you started doing yoga, what brought you to yoga. And yeah, let's start there.
Let's start there, Carmen. I mean, the story's very long, so I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. Because it's really a book, just the story is a book. And I was 2 years into the methadone program. So the methadone program is the substitution drug for heroin. So when you come off heroin, you go on the methadone, and it's a prescription drink that you take from the chemist. And I was 2 years on that, coming on that. And there was a lot of pent up nerve energy, or what I want to call libido, but not in the way that you think about libido, more like that creative in me that was not being released from using drugs, from shooting up heroin. So I was running and boxing and doing whatever I can to move this energy. And I just fell into a class. Like, I saw it at the gym and it said Ashtanga yoga, and I just went, I'm going to try this. And it was the most hallucinogenic experience I've ever had. From the first moment. The teacher was Jean Byrne, she's in Western Australia. She was teaching at the university at the time, and everything just went. Everything was awakened. The nerve energy was awakened. The eyes were awakened. Everything was awakened inside of me. And that was pretty much it. From then on, I flapped around with a few teachers, and then one teacher on the Gold Coast said to me, "You've got to go and see Mark Togney, whom is a Zen monk." And I went to his class, and he's just the most beautiful man. He just looked at me, and he was sitting. I walked in. He was sitting very like a Zen monk, however a Zen monk sits, calm and present. He just looked at me and he went, "Come in, sit down. I can help you." And I just literally dropped into his arms. I dropped and I cried and I just blubbered around there. And I practiced with him pretty much every day for 10 years. And in his love for me, he loved me. He really loved me. He really looked after me. He didn't teach me anything about technique or how to do postures, anything like that. He just gave me the practice. Like, for the first 4 years, he just flogged me. Like, pushed me through, but not hard, with lovingness, right? With care and devotion and affinity. He just pushed me through first series, second series, third series, fourth series. I was just hallucinating every day. I was just like that. But it cleaned me up, Carmen. Like, I got completely off heroin and all the drugs. Like, I got off the drugs, but it wired me up. It really wired me up. And to tell you the truth, it crippled me in a way. It crippled my mind in a way, because the deeper underlying complexes of my psyche were being churned up so fervently that my mind couldn't actually metabolize or digest the depth and the complexity of what was being churned. And so then I actually got worse. Like, I all the drugs dropped away, the smoking, the bongs, the shooting up, everything dropped away. But the anorexia and the bulimia got worse because they were the core issues.
No.
But yeah, so like that, I was just like constantly vomiting, constantly in anorexia, constantly just. And then it wasn't till he looked at me one day and he gave me a card and it had a Gestalt therapist on there and he said, you need to go and see her. Because he couldn't take me to those places. He wasn't skilled or mastered in those places. He was skilled in Ashtanga yoga and holding that space for me to do that work. And then once I started Gestalt, everything started to settle down and I started to bring into contact those unintegrated aspects of myself very, very quickly, and things started to settle down for me. So that was like the first 10 years. And then I went to Mysore. Tell me to shut up because I'll just go on and on. And then I went to Mysore after 10 years. And in those 3 years, I kind of threw myself in the tradition. So I threw myself in Sharat and just being in the tradition. And that was good and not so good. Okay, I found part of me getting crippled again because I'm really a lone soul, Carmen. I really can't stick to any kind of straitjacket ideas of spirit and God and life. I'm kind of do my own thing. I'm pretty wild, and anytime anyone tries to clamp me down into a way, I'm a recalcitrant. I just kick and scream and do bad things. I can't. So that was okay. I went. I love Shadat, and I'll go back to Mysore. In fact, I look forward to going there in the new year. But I can't get locked into these static, unpliable conventions. Mm-hmm. And so then after that, I revere the tradition. I still go to Mysore to be with him, and I love him. And I've kind of just put that aside, and I teach my own way now. Mm. I hope that answered the question. But having said that, the Ashtanga yoga got me off heroin, kept me out of jail, gave me a husband, stopped the anorexia, stopped the bulimia, and now I'm just insane. So it got rid of all of the avoidance patterns and behaviors to get rid of the insanity. So I'm not doing that. Now I'm just doing insanity.
Yeah. How is that?
Great. It's human. This is living in ambivalence all the time.
Tell us about your husband, Shane, because I remember a story you told me when you guys met, and I was really intrigued about him because he's a very special person, extremely accepting.
Oh yeah,
loving. And I know he's a very important part in your life, but he also played a really important role in your recovery.
Yeah, like if it wasn't for Shane, I'll be dead. You know, like I started the practice and but even before that, like he, you know, like I was a raving heroin addict prostitute and my husband let me in his door. And he gave me a bed and he didn't ask anything of me and he didn't even tell me to give up. He just saw something that I couldn't see and he believed in that. And he continues to believe in that. Like, you know, when everything's down, he just looks at me and with one sentence, after all this fucking spiritual bullshit that I've been reading, with one sentence, my husband can just cut it for me and I just get up and go. But my husband was fully accepting of me, the drugs, the anorexia, the bulimia. He never, ever shames me. He lets me be me fully. Whatever I want to do, I'm allowed to do. He never, ever crimps me. And that healed me. In that full acceptance of my diabolical nature, that healed me, because he loved not Santina, he loved something else.
I remember that story when you told me. I think when I was ready to be with you, fully present with you, I was going through a hard time. You made me cry here. We'll put the blame on Shane.
Well, he's a good man, Carmen. Like, my husband's
amazing.
A really good man.
Amazing. Mm.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. He likes Real Madrid, so I love him forever. Like in Real Madrid, I love anyone forever. But no, I remember that you told me that story when we when I went to Vigo and to do a few Mysore days with you, and I was going through heartbreak. More than heartbreak, I was going through a sense of, like, a deep sense of betrayal, having been betrayed by a person that I fully trusted. And you telling me this, and of course, a lot of things came up for me, like, around that time. And you told me this story, and I thought, that's the real deal, you know. That's the real deal, and it's a freaking hard. It's over. Who fully accepts you? Am I fully accepting of the other person? I am not. So how am I accepting myself? I am not fully accepting, if I'm honest with you. Yeah. But then you find this type of person that it's like, whatever. I see beyond everything else. It's like, okay.
So, Carms, it's not just whatever. We still go into confrontation. Don't get me wrong, and we still fight. Right? So don't get me wrong, that we're still very, there's still confrontation, there's still boundary setting and all of that. But underneath it, there's a devotion. And the thing with my husband is, he's not a thinking type, he's a feeling type. So the minute I drop anything, like if I drop and I come really deep into that feminine principle and container, that container in me, my husband drops and we meet. Right now, I must have had that, for, even as I talk to you now, like I've had that since I was a child, that capacity to drop and hold a deep container, because there's many kids in my area whom were sexually molested, including myself. But I had a capacity to hold the children on the bus whom were very sexually molested. So I had that capacity to hold that deep container for suffering. So when I hold that deep container in myself and I drop, my husband drops and we meet, and he fully accepts me in that. But my husband hardly ever says no to me. If he questions to the point where he has a deep understanding, and then we talk about it, but he doesn't crimp me. You don't want a man that crimps you. And that's where things go wrong. When a man crimps a woman, but by the same token, I don't crimp him either. He's free. He's free.
That's been my experience, really. Always, there's something that you say a lot, like being a wild woman, and sometimes, what is that? What's being wild, according to you?
What is wild? What is wild is, for me, it's having that raw instinctual self. Right? It's that raw capacity to respond from a feeling function, right? And to not be occluded by the overculture, by anything, whether it's my husband or my parents or my nieces and nephews or Ashtanga or anyone. It's that instinctual self is continually driving and running and informing the show. That's wild, right? And also having the capacity to collect the stories of your life and breathe life into them again, so they don't cripple you into ways of being that don't allow you to expand. Right. And it's also about having the capacity on the inner mind to have the mediating force where you can use your mind and the female mind, which is very different to the male mind, and the female animating force to intuit, to sense, to feel, to hold, to contain, to see, to have that intuitive knowing and wisdom, which comes with time. It comes with time. It comes with documentation. It comes with being on your own. It comes with heartbreak. It comes with betrayal. It comes with going and saying fucking sorry to people that you've hurt. You don't just get the wild. It's in everyone. The wild is in everyone, but you don't just get it. You have to rediscover it. And you have to let her in. And it takes time. And it takes work. And it's not, I'm just a fucking goddess and I'm a goddess and I'm wild. That's not it.
Yeah.
It's not tea candles and dreadlocks. That's not the wild.
Yeah, I agree. My mom,
Right.
she's
wild.
really her 80. No dreadlocks. No new age stuff, and she's wild.
She's wild.
Yeah, she is.
I know Magdalena. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell a wild. You can tell the woman that reconnected with the wild inside of her. There's a magnetism and a glint. And it doesn't matter where she's placed in the world. She could be anywhere. She could be in the desert. She can be on the Gold Coast. She could be in Madrid. She can be in the back paddock of the potato farm. But you look at her and you're like, woo, you're shaking because she's coming.
Yeah. My mom has suffered a lot. I think that suffering really, it really churns stuff for you and it polishes you. It cleans you up. It cleans you up. So you got to be ready for what's going to come up. And this is actually the next thing that I would like to you to talk about, if you want, which is this churning of the practice. You know, this like it's really a churning. We have this in philosophy. We have this story of the churning of the ocean of milk. Well, there's the churning of the yoga practice, and things come up, and people are surprised because they're not part of this yoga propaganda. This is not the way to bring people to the yoga studio. You're gonna be feeling maybe worse after you do you're gonna feel wonderful, but then not really. You will have to deal with a lot of inner realities that were dormant, and now they're waking up, or you are waking up to them, to these feelings of restlessness, unworthiness, self-doubt, lack of faith in life and in yourself. You're going to be waking up to that. You're also going to be opening your eyes to decisions that you've made and partnerships and relationships that you've established from those broken places. And you're going to start questioning, what am I doing here? What am I doing with this person? What type of life am I living? That's not part of the yoga propaganda. It's so freaking real.
That is yoga. Yoga is coming face to face with reality. This is real. This is happening. These are the very lively complexes that live in me. All of these unintegrated characters that make up my psyche. And the yoga, I mean, the churning effect that comes from, you know, all of these emotions, these feelings, these memories, these associations, these resentments. Resentment is the biggest one for me anyway, that are latent in the body, and, you know, the body being the guardian of truth, everything gets churned up into consciousness and everything comes to it. And, you know, not a lot of people have the support or the willingness or the maturity of mind or the capacity to bring into contact all of what remains, all of what comes to the surface. They're just not versed in that. And yoga teachers are not versed in that. And that's where you need external support. For me, I needed some psychodynamic therapy to pull together those parts and look at very clearly at these parts of myself that are internalized but unintegrated. They live in me. They bump into people and experiences, and they come forward. And because they're unconscious, they're actually stopping me being fully present and available, and stopping me responding artfully and spontaneously to what is arising. I'm still responding as a 14-year-old, or I'm still responding as an anorexic, or I'm still responding as whatever's arising that just got injected through that encounter or in that engagement or whatever happened on or off the mat. And that's not Instagrammable.
I agree.
No one really wants to really do that work.
I agree.
Because it's painful. It takes a great skill. Like, you don't underestimate the skill it takes to come into full contact with those parts. You think you're in contact, but you're really not. To get to the full feeling of what is underneath you, snot fest. It's a snot fest. You are double pumping, crying or raging. Right? And then after that, once you've got to the bottom of that, then you can sit behind it. And, like, for example, you have to kind of do that work where you're crying, you're emoting, you're getting to it, you're feeling it, and then you get an established lattice work in the psyche. The psyche reframes itself. And then when rage comes, because rage is one of my default functions, rage will come, and I'm watching it and I'm enjoying the exquisite feeling of rage, how exquisite this rage is, rather than projecting it out on Shane or projecting it out on my students or projecting it out on someone. I'm in the fullness of this exquisite feeling. and I'm juicing and extracting what that is for me. And then only in that, over time, in the fullness of it, does it dissipate, and you're no longer in rage. That takes time, and that takes a lot of work. And most people are like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling. Yeah, I'm feeling. That's not fucking feeling, man. That's just emoting or talking about your feelings. And, feelings are so, there's so many, they're layered in clouds of denial and information. I hope I just spun you out somewhere, comes. It's not really yoga talk what we're talking about, or Ashtanga. So.
We're having the second series program, intermediate series program, now in April. And this is very relevant. That's the reason why I'm bringing it up. It's very relevant because intermediate series, they are designed in a way that it's a journey, and it's a real, we put it up on the website as the hero's journey. And it's true. It's not BS. It's absolutely true. It's heroic in the sense that it's not only about you having a daily practice, doing it this or that way. It's not only about that commitment and discipline that should already be there. But it's not a commitment, or it's not a commitment to the system or the method. It's a commitment to yourself. It's a commitment that you establish with yourself. That's because the reason why you're doing this practice, it's not because of some lineage or something that you decide to do. But it's heroic because a lot of things are going to come up with all those backbends, and they are emotional for many people. I am one of those people. Some people would say, Anna, I don't feel the emotions. Good for you. I'm not one of those people. They are emotional. If you don't feel the emotion in the backbend, you will feel them in your hips, doing leg behind the head. Otherwise, you will feel the section when you have to stand and balance on your arms. You will feel certain things will come up as just like powerlessness, or again, lack of faith, or seeing how your willpower cracks. You will feel every type of sensation come up, and you will feel them every day. It's not a one-off. You will feel them every day, and at first you will not know what to do with that, and the recipe of keep doing it, and you'll figure out does not necessarily work for everyone. And that's when you need to learn, or you start learning. If you keep at it, and if you do it fully, that's when you start learning the true meaning of compassion, of self-compassion. Because again, you're going to be confronted with all your toxicity, all your negativity, all the things that really, truly hold you back. And I'm not speaking from the mind. I'm speaking from a deep understanding of the meaning of this. You're going to be confronted with all the dead parts within you. All those dead structures are only weighing you down. And what do? You see that, and what do you do with all of that?
Can I just circle back a little bit? Because I agree with everything that you've said, Carmen. However, I have a fantasy here, is that you can't, for me, I just can't skip to compassion. That's a big jump. Right? From feeling all of this unworthiness, powerlessness, weakness, just weak in body, weak in will, weak in mind, weak in one's capacity to use one's mind. You can't just jump to compassion from there. I can't. I have to actually bring into contact acceptance. Can I accept this about myself? And that's the biggest yogic journey. Can I accept this? And if you look carefully, there's a lot of things you cannot accept about yourself. I know that there's just, and so then I say, okay, so this is what I do. No, I can't accept that. Well, can I accept my non-acceptance? No, I can't even accept that. And then you just keep on going down and down and down and down and down until you get to the point where you can accept something. And from accepting something, there is a release of resistance for something else to arise. And it's almost like you actually have to start to have a dialogue with whatever feeling, because underneath all of this is feelings. There's unintegrated feelings, unacceptable feelings, hidden feelings, unconscious feelings. Eventually, you're going to have to get to the feeling and start to accept the feeling, have an attitude of willingness to get to know the feeling. Say sorry to the feeling for ignoring you for 40 years. My God, it took me to 10 years of Kapotasana to finally talk to you.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's like 10 years of Kapotasana. I'm now finally ready to talk to my rage. And this is not a traditional method. Go say that to Shad. Go, what are you talking about? Talk to your rage. You just do it. You just do. Well, that's not working, man. It's not working. I'm still angry.
Yeah, anger is a real thing, isn't it? When you're
angry,
it's very
and
obvious.
what's underneath anger, probably grief and sadness and loss. And you go down and down. It's like, oh, this is really hard. But you get to the bottom of that, and slowly then you start to feel, and you just fall in love with feeling. And then your Kapotasana becomes a little bit more doable, and you're not so scared of it anymore. And it doesn't evoke as many sensations and or unconscious patterns. And it becomes a lifelong relationship with these postures. They're not only postures that you do in your body, they're archetypal postures that you do in your mind, in your psyche. That's why I continue to practice yoga and asana, because they're a pattern in your psyche. You internalize these patterns and they flesh out, and you fall in love with them, Carmen. I hope I'm kind of making any sense here. I don't know.
Yes, you are.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me too. Many times, excuse me, many times I get the feeling that we're not told this kind of stuff. And when it's going to come up, it's going to happen for everyone. And the ways that will happen might differ from Santina to Carmen or to someone else, but it's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. The funny thing, though, is that not only we did not expect that, because it was not part of the yoga speech in the West.
I love that.
Like a surprise, here I am. But also what happens is that sometimes we're even shamed because talking about this, like there's this tendency of just being positive. Just think positive thoughts and just think nice stuff, and nice things will come to you. But if you're broken inside, you're broken inside, and that's the way it is. It doesn't mean that you're going to be throwing that brokenness into someone else necessarily, but it means that you open your eyes to that reality, to those dark corners within you that exist, whether you like it or not. They are just there. And what's even more interesting is that life is going to put on your freaking reality those people that you need, because they're going to show you all those dark parts of you that you don't want to look at. The more you avoid, the more obvious the experience, until you freaking open your eyes. And that happens on the yoga mat and outside of the yoga shala in your life, with the people around you, the experiences that come to you. That's something I believe.
Yes, Carmen, I agree with you. And one thing I want to say here is I've been saying this. What I've been saying here, I've been saying ever since I started practice, and everyone kind of just went, no, that's not it, Santina. You just practice and all is coming. Well, let me tell you this. All is fucking coming. All of what is unfinished in you is coming. That's about it.
That's true.
Right? All of what you left back there is coming forward for you to look at. You don't just practice and all is coming. No, that is not true. Not in my experience anyway. And I want to suggest that maybe you could practice for 20 years and still not do that reflective process. Right? You're bumping into it in your life. You're getting smashed up, but you just practice without any real cognition, without any real contemplative methods within you, without any real humility to look deeply at what is left. You know, like I know a lot of people whom, and it's very sad, whom are glorious yoga teachers, and they're out on the international stage and whatever, and you speak to them and they say, well, yeah, I haven't spoken to my daughter for 40 years. Well, isn't that, your yoga's not working, man? Isn't that telling you something? That, I mean, I know that this is a judgment on my part, but what's going on?
Yeah.
How didn't you work with that? She's your daughter.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get that part of yoga. It's like for me, if you want to be a master of your world, you have to integrate every part of your life. Every part of your life has to be re-internalized. That means you need to say sorry to people. That means you need to set boundaries with people. That means you need to know when yes is yes and no is no. Now, I know I'm harsh. But like I said, this is your fucking life. What are you doing? getting your leg overhead ain't going to do anything unless you're willing to go into contact with life. Yoga is the practice of interfacing with life and yourself. And it's, like what I love about Ashtanga yoga for me is, well, in terms of asana, is that it's the shin. And this is what it is for me. The shin in the Bible is the consuming flame.
The shin.
The shin, right? It's like the tooth. The tooth is what consumes the food to go in to be digested and burnt up and metabolized. And Ashtanga yoga is like that. It is the shin. It's a consuming flame. It burns everything. If you let it. And you can look at it. This and what I noticed most in my practice, and particularly when I was doing really intense practice, which I don't do that anymore. I don't need it. I don't need to practice like that anymore. I did that work. In Deuteronomy, there's a verse 9:3, and it says this, and it's some people will hear this and some people won't hear this, but it's out there now. It says this: know, therefore, thy God. Know today, therefore, thy God, your Lord, is passing over and crossing over and beyond you to consume the flame. So there's moments in your practice, if you really watch the divine operating power in you is consuming, it's coming over, crossing over, and moving you to something else. It's going beyond you. That is that consciousness that's burning up all the dross, all the betrayals, everything inside of you to see clearly. And then you come out in your life, and because of that consuming flame in the psyche, you can see, oh, that's happening. Oh, that person. Oh, that engagement. Oh, that. And so you can see. Now, this is on the aspect of the mind. That consciousness is coming in all the time as a consuming flame to take you somewhere. But if you're caught up in leg over the head and that's all you care about, that you don't even feel for that. You don't even sense that because you're not in here. You're not having that reflective process moment to moment going, what happened? What just happened? What am I aware of? Where did I go? How did I break contact? How did I break contact with life? Because I was so caught up in that, or leg over the head, or getting to the end of third series, or whatever it is. And I'm not saying don't get to the end of third series. It's fun. But what are you doing in that?
In that sense, sometimes the practice itself can become a distraction. It can become a distraction from this deeper understanding, this like awareness. Sometimes you're busy. That's something that I find in my own practice. You get busy because your practice gets longer. Maybe now, since I am at a point when I'm doing like a really intense practice, so maybe I'm doing the work that you did a few years ago. I'm going through that now. It's something that I decided to do. But I can see that as my practice is long and it is intense, I need to be mindful of my energy and my time. And if I practice with like full awareness, then I spend like 5 hours on the yoga mat. 5 hours, 4 hours for sure. And in that sense, it can become a distraction.
Yeah, you know, like you have to have that conversation with yourself. Is my practice just another trance that I run to avoid feeling my repressed emotions? Have that conversation. What is really here? Right? What is really here for me on this mat? Where am I? Am I interfacing with my feelings? Am I interfacing with my memories? Am I interfacing with what is arising? Or am I just in this, you know, what I call artificial intelligence? You're like a robot. You know, it's like, oh, I do this every day and this is what I do and it's going to fucking sort everything out. Well, it might, but not in my experience.
Yeah, I agree with that experience. And if I'm completely honest with you, a part of me is like operating on that mode now. I think it's the phase where I am, I'm not being like completely mindless, but I am on a mission, if I'm honest with you. I'm on a mission.
But you know that, right?
I know it. I'm on third serious mission. So that's my mission right now. It might change.
So as long as you're, but as long as you're aware that you're doing that, then that's the first step, right? Because I'm not saying that you need to change that creative adjustment, but you are aware and then you can have a choice to go, oh, I'm stepping off that paradigm.
No, I'm choosing to stay.
Great. So that's yoga, right? Because you're aware that you're choosing to stay.
Yeah. But it's true. It's that element of awareness. There's something that I love about the way how you teach. Well, there are many things I love about the way you teach. One of them is your presence in the room. You have this like very big, strong presence, which is very shocking, very intimidating for many people. I was one of those people. You also, I actually slipped my mind. Oh yeah, there's this thing that I personally find extremely disturbing when I go to Sala and they come and they try to put me into a posture. I freaking hate that. That's something I don't need. That's something I don't see the point of, like strong adjustments. That's absolutely not my style. That's not how I practice. That's not how I teach. What I love about you is that you are extremely subtle. You cue people and the body opens up, the mind opens up, and you nearly don't touch the person. There's no need for this, like this aggression, really. That strong adjustment and that strong force that it's being placed upon the student's body, it's completely unnecessary. It's like a demonstration of power that, in my opinion, comes from a place of weakness, comes from a dark place on the other person, that I need to prove that I am the teacher and that I know what's best for you, which to me, it's disturbing to say the least.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one thing that I want to suggest here, or what I want to say here, is that when a teacher, whether they're female or male, have been able to cultivate within their psyche this inner mother, right? This capacity to hold in a deep chalice the student in front of them. It's coming from inside of them. It's a subtle, nuanced capacity and faculty of the teacher who did that work. to hold the student, and the student drops. And in the student dropping, something can happen inside of them, and they can let go, and they can do that work for themselves. And when they do that work for themselves, they're like, wow, do that. I can do that. There's a derivative, there's a divine derivative in me, that's this primal function in me that when I somehow on the inner level of my mind wire into, it takes me. And all I needed was that stupid little Australian yoga teacher from halfway across the world to hold me in it for me to fucking feel it. And now I know it.
Yeah.
Right now, you don't have to touch anyone to do that.
I
They
agree.
can feel that. Now you can't buy that. You can't go to a teacher training and pay your money and get that. You know how you get that? Go down into the mud and swim around there for a few years.
That idea of few years, it's very important. People understanding that it takes time, like time. I think we missed Santina. She probably went offline. Nos hemos quedado sin conexión, Miguel. Creo que Santina se ha caído. Ahora vuelve. Oh, yeah. You're back.
Calms. I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No problem. Carry on.
Yeah, so what I was saying is, like, you go down into the mud and you stay down there for a few years.
Yeah.
And then you come back up and you circumambulate around the planet and you teach some people what you learnt. And then you go back down into the mud and you do more work. And then you come back up and you do it again, and you keep going down into the mud. And so my husband, he catches mud crabs. I don't know if you've ever seen a mud crab. It lives in the mud. They're like these big crabs they're blue and black.
Oh,
they're like massive, and they're black, and they sit in the mud and they feast on all the debris, all the dead stuff at the bottom of the ocean and the canals. And my husband catches those, and they are the sweetest seafood I have ever eaten.
Oh, wow.
And they get really sweet and tender and nourishing down in the mud. So that's a nice metaphor for going down into the watery waters of emotion and feeling, and getting slimy in there and coming out with sweetness.
Here's something that it's coming to me now. Once you feel more and more comfortable with being real with yourself first, then you have less tolerance for things that are fake. And this is also a part of yoga, because like there are many instructors in your life, and we can talk about the yoga mat. Like there are many ways how you practice that are distracting you from the real work that you have to do. Like, for example, going to a teacher in the hope that he will put you in a posture that you cannot do. That's one delusion, for example, in my way of looking at it. Or going to a person or establishing a relationship because you have needs that you cannot fulfill yourself. So in a way, you're going, this is coming from a video actually that I saw yesterday from Sadhguru. It's like when you are filled with needs that you cannot fulfill, you're coming as a beggar, and beggars cannot choose. And that kind of stuck with me. It's like, shit, that's so true. But in order to say this, once again, you have to transcend the mind. It's not something that, oh yeah, I'm gonna fill my own cup, so I can choose. Still, you don't understand anything. No, you don't understand anything. You only understand when you experience it, and it's something that happens slowly and gradually, because even if things happen to you, you're not even ready or skilled maybe or prepared to understand them fully, to fully digest and integrate them. Do I make any sense?
Yes, yes. And this is where the beauty for me comes from the Gestalt method, because in the Gestalt method, so at the very basis of the method is that it believes that every human has all the functionalities, the resources, and the capacities within themselves to live the most nourishing, satisfying, and creative life. That's the basis, because it's a humanistic, existential, relational therapy that says if we work through your complexes and we look at what parts of yourself aren't integrated, you will come to a maturity and a flourishing where you don't really need anyone from the external world to give you anything. Yeah, you'll be in relationship and it'll come and go, but eventually you're pretty individuated.
Mm-hmm.
So the beauty of the Gestalt method is you sit with someone, they track your awareness, they watch where you go, they see how you stop making contact with yourself. And in that, you move from external support, always seeking from the external to support you, to having this capacity to provide this internal support. Right? This capacity to hold your psyche no matter what. Now, that is a true practitioner. To me, that's a true practitioner. Now, it's not willpower. It's not mind strength. It's not that shit.
No.
It's not mind strength. It's a deep understanding in the inner level of the mind to support yourself with everything that is arising.
At some point, willpower, this is something that you said, willpower just by itself can be crippling. So you do things because you have just the discipline to do them, but at the end of the day, you're crippled. And very simple example, I do Kapotasana or anything. I just mentioned Kapotasana because it brings up so much drama. It's like quintessential dramatic posture, but it could be anything. I do this series, I do this practice, I do this out of willpower. And you can, if you're really stubborn, just like I am, and if you have been gifted or cursed with this massive willpower, you keep doing it, but you're really not there. You're not fully invested. I think to really feel this deep communion with anything that you do, this includes Ashtanga yoga. This includes your daily practice, but feel this, at least the willingness to be open to the things that you put time and energy into, the people that you put time and energy into, or the situations in your life. This, at least being willing to be open to that. That's probably the first step. It's not about repeating something that you don't even know what you're doing. It's more like starting to open up to whatever is inside, and so whatever is outside as well, which is not such different. There's no such difference from the inner and the outers. If you consider, I'm going to try not to go very abstract, but if you consider that, let's say I have this feeling of unworthiness, what type of people am I going to choose to spend time with? People that are reflecting back that feeling of unworthiness back to me. And I'm going to see that in their behaviors. And then I'm going to see myself being triggered. And I can be stuck in this dynamic, or this feeling of unworthiness, that I need the figure of the guru to make me feel that I belong, to make me feel worthy. Even though you really don't need that. It's something that you have to fix. Not even fix. It's something that you have to reckon inside of you.
It's something, yeah, I agree with all of you said there. Something that is kind of a little bit of a rub for me is the idea of fixing, because I don't believe we need to really fix ourselves. It's more about is on the in the back end story of your mind. There is a subconscious mentality that when you wire in, you can feel the internal support there. That is not here.
Yeah.
It's not volition. It's not will. It's not reading the Yoga Sutras. It's not praying to Ganesh. It's got nothing to do with any of that, which is all great if you need it. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you feeling deeply this capacity of the life essence and spirit inside of you. Your body is responsive to the spirit inside of you. And you did that work. You felt that on your mat. You experienced that in your body. You felt that deep, deep, deep level of knowing. Now, you got that from doing the work on the mat. You got that from doing an inventory of your life. You got that from looking. What is going on here? What is really here? And then feeling. Remember, feelings don't have words.
True.
Feelings, you're just creating a story on a sense, on a sensation. You get a sensation, create a story. Oh, I feel angry. That's not a feeling. A feeling doesn't have any words. A feeling is way back. Whoa, back there. Yeah, I felt that. And then you fall in love with that. Woo-hoo-hoo, felt that. And it's not words.
Many times it's suffering what cracks you open. It's usually suffering, actually. What cracks you open, what brings you to, like you were talking about, this deep support that you find, which is a deep sense of faith in the fact that somewhat things are going to work, that you have yourself. And I can see myself going back to that in sometimes, like in some like defining moments in my life, that some inner voice telling me, don't worry, you have yourself. You're not going to collapse because you have yourself. You can rely on yourself. And that's real inner fortitude. It doesn't come from just thinking.
Just feel that calm. Just notice what's happening inside of you now. Just notice that.
Yeah.
You feel that?
I do.
Yeah.
You can see it in my eyes, but no.
Yeah. So that's it. You know, you feel that is the closest you get to God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now I also get the idea that if I try to put it into words, it just goes. It just goes. And so there's no point in even trying to put into words. That's many times why this type of conversations, I don't even engage in them, because otherwise it's more like a play of the mind and you get nowhere. But deep down, you know that you have yourself, no matter what. Everything, even if everything else collapses, you do have yourself. And it's not so much about, this is my experience, it's not so much about repeating Kapotasana every day, as it is about how you're integrating all the information that practicing this set of postures every day is giving you, how you are. And this is an expression that you use, tender resilience, which I think is spot on. How you are fully accepting, or at least partially accepting, and resilient with the things that come up, and how you apply that same resilience and that same level of higher acceptance to the people around you and to yourself, to your darkness, which we all have. As long as we're human, I believe that we will have all those dark corners that we don't want to confront, but we cannot avoid confronting them. Whether we want it or not, it's just gonna be boom on our face. So that's the yoga, or it's part of it, at least.
Yeah, and I enjoyed something that you said there, Carmen, which sparked something. It was as soon as I put something into words, I lose the essence and the true import of what I sensed, what I felt. And I suppose what I wish for all of us as practitioners is to have the capacity, and this takes training.
Yep.
To have the capacity to understand and garner wisdom from the intrapsychic awarenesses that happen moment to moment before they recede and dissolve into the background. So that means you have to cultivate this presence, this moment to moment relational presence with yourself and the world. So you're on. You are on.
Here's the funny thing. Many times we try to justify practice, like tell me how, or let's tell people how it helped me cope or whatever. And there's no need to do that, because once you get a sense or a taste of this, you don't need any motivation. You become your own powerhouse. You become your own motivation. Of course, I mean, it's great to have a teacher near you. It's great to have shala. It's great to have practitioners around you so you can prey on their energy, or not pray, but like you can pick up on their energy, and your energy carries you through. Their energy carries you through, but you don't need any of that eventually. And so there's this big independence, which is something that I try to cultivate even with my students. I don't want them to need me. I want them to come because they want to come as free people that can perfectly do without me, as heartbreaking and scary as that might be. I want free people that come to class out of their free will and that come from a place of strength. And they decide to spend their time on their mat with me and with the guys around them in the shala, with their peers, but not out of a need to be adjusted or to be taught new stuff. Or of course they will get all of that, but I want strong people, independent people that decide to form a connection with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. And you know, once you become very adept in the finer sensibilities of yourself, you can feel students who are just gripping at you. But eventually you don't even attract that type of student. You attract the student who want a container for them to come and do their inner work. You do it. And they can feel where you are.
It's so true. You don't even get that type of people. Like, you don't even get them. It's very true.
Yeah, you don't, you just, the whole fabric of your inner world has matured to a potentiality where that gripping student that just wants postures or energy or whatever doesn't even come.
Or being seen. See yourself.
Yeah, or the performance or whatever it is, which is fine. We kind of all got to do that. We've got to go through that. You know, I did performance for how many years? It's just like, I'm so tired.
I'm doing performance now, if I'm honest with you. There is a part of me that's, but
well, you have to.
Yeah,
you have to.
I know.
And
that,
you know, like it, even if your practice is shitty and, you know, invigorating and sticky and bleh, it's still awesome if you know how to do that work internally. Right? Regardless of what's going on, you're like, I feel this sticky because I did that with that person 2 weeks ago, or I didn't integrate that with that person 20 years ago, or I didn't whatever, or I did, and now it's here. Yes. Come on. We're doing this. Don't be scared. Just go in there and meet it.
Yeah.
And if you can't meet it, accept that you can't meet it, pack up your shit, go home and have breakfast.
Go to the bar and have smoke.
Whatever it is to ground yourself again, and then come back tomorrow and start again.
Yeah. You're a really funny lady, Sans. You're very funny.
Oh, why?
Is your intensity, and as I said before, no non-BS. I find that very refreshing, and I feel comfortable with personality like yours.
Thank you, Carms. Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome. Sans, I am aware of the time in the Gold Coast now. I know that you.
I'm in Melbourne.
Oh, you're in Melbourne.
I'm at my mum's.
Okay. You're having a good time, I can see.
I like that, like hooked up, walking around like a scarecrow, getting hooked up by everything.
Yeah, that sounds like interesting time for you.
It's great.
A lot of work.
It's deep practice.
I know. I'm looking forward to your visit in April. Miguel and I, we are really looking forward to you coming again. I am personally very happy that we can have you again, because we have you 2019, then COVID happened. And then I also had to do some work in order to be, and you know about this, in order to be able to have you here in Madrid again. And so I'm very excited that it's happening now. Now I am in a place internally when I can offer this to people, and I can offer this to you as well. And I can offer this to myself. So yeah, I'm very happy about that. I can see you fixing your hair.
Well, I just can feel I can feel that resonance between us, and also my wish to acknowledge the work that you did and that you continue to do.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you did that you went there.
A lot has happened. Has it happened? I'll tell you in Madrid. You'll see in Madrid. Surprise.
You told me a little bit about it.
Yeah, but for now, see. With sisters, yeah? Sisters. I showed you before. Because I different hands, but like same idea. There's no such thing as a coincidence.
No.
Yeah, no such thing as a coincidence. Thanks. I'm so happy that you came online with us today. I really want to leave you rest, and I think you look fantastic. There's something different in you. I'm looking forward to exploring that. We'll do it in person, because I really don't want to get caught up like in long conversations. I just want to fully experience your presence. If that's something that you probably understand what I mean. I want to be like in a face to face and let things kind of fully unravel. I think it's going to be really very interesting for the two of us and for the people that join us in our second series work. It's not an immersion intensive, whatever. You can call it the way you want it, but words are really going to fall short. It's so hard to explain to people the type of work that they can have firstly in their practice, and that you can also facilitate. It's really hard to explain. So hopefully they will get a sense of it with this chat. And I'm sure that the right ones, the people that truly resonate with it, they will show up, and we'll have a wonderful program together. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be freaking epic, fantastic.
Yeah, and you're right, Carms. You can't explain what happens there. You can't. It's like sometimes I ask my students to explain what happens in a Gestalt session with me, and they go, I don't know. I don't know. Something happened and it was awesome, and I feel better, and I'm ready for the next thing. I'm ready to get in my life again. Yeah. And it's the same. It's the indescribable, the ineffable comes, and there is some kind of, I can't even put words to it. Something happens. And I just happen to know a lot about postures as well.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah, I did that work too. Yeah.
Forward to this. I'm looking forward to this. And even though we're going to be focused on intermediate, I want to work in some third with you.
Yeah.
I personally want to work, and selfishly want to work in some third with you. Yeah. So let's see how we do that.
I love third series.
They're freaking fantastic, but yeah, I want to do some of that work with you. Perfecto, Santina. Are you learning Spanish? ¿Estás aprendiendo español? Because you're going to Argentina so much.
Oh, my husband keeps telling me, how can you continue to be with all of these Spanish people and travel to all the Spanish countries and you don't learn Spanish. And I know, I think I'm just lazy. No, you know what? I think there's a part of me that believes that I can't do it. So unless I surmount that belief in myself, I don't think I'll ever learn.
That makes sense.
But you know what? The thing is, Carmen, is that we're talking anyway.
Yeah.
Like, even though I don't speak Spanish, we're talking, because somehow there's a psychic part of me that wires straight into that Spanish archetypal pattern in the psyche, especially in Argentina. Don't know what it is. Oh, I do, actually. I'll tell you about it one day. Long story.
Good. Looking forward to the long story. To that.
So many stories, Carms.
I have some long stories for you too.
I'm looking forward to it.
I know you are.
Yeah.
Fantastic sense. Well, I'm sending you a big kiss from Madrid. Un beso grande desde Madrid. It was a delight to talk to you. It's beyond delight. Again, I cannot explain it, but thank you for being here. And
thank you for having me. We didn't even talk about anything that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think we covered quite a few things.
Okay. We covered it we circumambulated around it somehow.
I'm sending you an outline in case we need it, but if we don't need it, we don't use it.
Yeah.
I thought we wouldn't. In fact, I sent it to you because you asked for it, but I was not going to send it to you. I sent it to you to put you at ease.
Yeah.
I was just going to go by the motions, and I think it worked out pretty well. When it's ready, you let me know. But
thank you for sitting with me, huh?
Stay with the feeling of the chat. It left a little inside of me, maybe inside of you as well.
I'm joyous to sit with you because I love you.
I love you too. I'll see you soon.
Ciao.
Chao.
Ciao.
Voy a pausar la grabación, Miguel. No, detener. La grabación está en la nube. Se puso en la nube. Detener grabación. Bueno, detener, ¿sí?